Customer service rep Dolores Harris is suing her son's fiancée, 22-year-old retail manager Stacy Showers, for falsely accusing her of violating a no-contact order. Stacy is countersuing for harassment.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Now, this is case number 284 on the calendar in the matter of Harris versus Showers. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
Miss Harris, Miss Showers is your son's fiancée.
Yes.
I assume this is your son.
Yes, it is.
I gather that you and your future daughter-in-law do not get along.
Yes,
but
ma'am.
that's not what this case is about. You claim that your future daughter-in-law had you falsely arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
As a result of which you spent a night in jail, and you want to be compensated for that.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant says that you violated a protective order and that you've made her life miserable over the past 6 months, harassed her. She is counterclaiming. I gather that in May of this year, you, according to you, were fed up with the way Miss Showers was treating your son, and you decided to confront her.
Yes, ma'am.
So you went to her place of business.
Yes, ma'am.
Correct? And where did she work?
She works for Martin's grocery store.
How long had she worked there?
I believe she's been there about a year now.
How large is the town where you live?
It's a very small town.
How many grocery stores are there in town?
2.
Which is the bigger one?
Martin's.
And what's the other one?
It's Food Lion.
So you went to her place of business in May, and according to you, you had words with her, and when she was attempting to walk away, you grabbed her by the arm because you weren't finished talking to her.
I didn't grab her, I touched her arm.
As a result of her going into the store in May, you filed a complaint with the police, and they issued a no-contact order. So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you went to court on that no-contact order in June.
Yes, ma'am.
June 29th, according to your complaint. And so you had been served with the no-contact order, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you decided on June 29th that you wanted to buy some flowers for a friend. Why? She's sick?
She just had surgery.
And you decided to go to the store where Miss Showers works to get the flowers. And according to your statement, you called first to see if she was there. She wasn't there, so you went there. Rather than going to the Food Lion to get your flowers, you went to her store to get your flowers. And while you were there, she came in.
Yes, ma'am.
Subsequently, she filed a violation of the protective order, or the no-contact order, saying you had no right to be in her place of business, causing a scene, calling her a name, doing whatever. You had no right to even be there. Based upon that violation of going to her store, you were arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what you're complaining about, because you say that subsequently you pled guilty to an assault that happened in May, and she was given a permanent no-contact order?
12 months.
12 months. That you agree that she was entitled to, and you agreed to stay away from her and behave yourself for 12 months, and if after that 12-month period there is no contact, the case will be dismissed against you.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
And what you're complaining about is that you say she should not have had you arrested for going into the store after court on June 29th, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have 1 minute to explain to me why it was necessary, right after you went to court on a charge of assault, which you subsequently pled guilty to, that you found it necessary to go to her place of business, a place of business where she was employed for a year. Explain it to me, Ms. Harris.
When the warrant was issued, I was never
Don't tell me
instructed-
warrant.
Okay.
Just tell me why the day that you went to court on a charge of assault, an assault that you pled guilty to, you found it necessary to go to the store where she worked for anything.
Well, Your Honor, I have here where I had been in that store several times previous, and there was no problems.
I'm not talking about previous. I'm talking about the day you went to court for assaulting her. I mean, you weren't going there to get penicillin. You explained to me why you found it imperative to go to that store on that day.
Because, Your Honor, we live in a small town. The store where Stacy works is the only store that is open that time of morning. I called, as I did on these other occasions.
Just a second. let me stop you right there. What time in the morning did you go over?
It was about 10 o'clock, 10:15.
Really? What time had you gone to court that day?
It was 10.
So you're telling me 15 minutes after you left court, you went to the store?
I went directly after.
Immediately after?
Yes, ma'am.
You left court?
Yes, ma'am.
You decided to go to the store where she works?
No, actually, I had...
That's what you just told me. You told me you went to court at 10, and at that time in the morning...
Yes, ma'am.
At that time in the morning, there's no other store open, and you needed flowers, so immediately from the courthouse, you went to the store where she worked?
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
You got a problem, Miss Harris. You got a problem with me. There are other places you could have gone to get something for your sick friend. And if you couldn't get flowers anywhere else, and if you didn't want to go pick them yourself, buy her a box of candy. But you don't go to the same venue where you had previously assaulted the defendant, because you pled guilty to that assault, to buy your sick friend flowers. That's outrageous. And then suing her for having you falsely arrested. She had every right to have you arrested. And she didn't even have you arrested on that day. She waited, but evidently other things happened between that date in June and the date she ultimately complained about the conduct, because you clearly are not satisfied and not happy with your son's choice of mates. And finally she said, I've had enough. I'm going to complain about it. You have no case, and I suggest you start behaving yourself. Now let me get to your counterclaim. Let me hear it.
Mrs. Harris over here, she's ever since the incident in May, she's done nothing but try to torment me, try to get us kicked out.
Get to specifics.
Okay, I have here where she sent Mr. Jeffries here at voicemail saying that if I came to my apartment, that she would make our life hell, and Steve can verify.
Was it your voicemail?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. What did your mother say on the voicemail?
Basically, if she came back to the apartment where she was staying.
She was staying with you?
Yes, she was at the time of
No,
the
she was
incident.
not.
Shh.
That she would, quote, stomp her and watch my mom go to jail.
Well, whose apartment was it?
It's my apartment. She lives upstairs.
Okay, and you don't live together now?
Not now, no.
Did you then?
Yes, we did.
How come
No,
you don't
you did
anymore?
not.
Excuse me?
How come you don't anymore?
Because she called the landlord and explained everything that was going on. The landlord told me if Miss Showers didn't drop the warrant, that we both had to leave.
Didn't drop what warrant? The no contact
Well, yes,
warrant
I'm
on
sorry.
your mother?
No contact, yes.
How long has it been since you haven't gotten along with your mother?
Probably May.
What happened in May?
I backed into Miss Showers' car. She took my truck to work.
Yes?
And that started the May incident of her coming into her place of work.
Why? What is your mother's business that she took your truck?
It's not, Your Honor.
Is that what happened?
Well, Your Honor, there's been a history of 2 years of problems between Stacy and my son, where Stephen has come and talked to me about Stacy running around on him, leaving the apartment for 2 days and disappearing. I was brought into their business.
By your son? No, your son was
By my son,
confiding.
yes.
Your son was confiding in you.
Right, yes.
That he was troubled.
Yes, yes.
And?
Stephen at one point expressed to me that they were in an apartment together. He was wanting to put Stacy out but couldn't afford the apartment on his own. I live in a very inexpensive place to live, asked me to try to get him a place in my building. Apartment came available. I went to Stephen and asked if he wanted that apartment because he knew the relationship was shaky.
Fine. You asked him if he wanted the apartment. And he was
Right.
living with her at the time.
Right.
Go ahead.
After they moved in, that
So
was
the two of them moved, just a second.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
the two of them moved in together.
Yes, ma'am. In October, where it brought to where I was seeing with my own 2 eyes of Stacy's actions. The truck incident was basically the icing on the cake. Stephen did put Stacy out right after Christmas of last year.
Talk to me about the truck incident. He says that she had permission to take his truck. He didn't care that she took the truck.
That is correct.
So what was it your business?
Well, because Stephen was having to take off time from work for her to go, and Stephen had owed me money. She works a mile from where they were staying. My viewpoint was, you can't afford to be taking off time from work. You owe me this money.
So why didn't you have a discussion with him instead of her?
I did.
And you got no satisfaction?
He said that he was going to take care of it. Stephen has
So
a
then
habit
what prompted you to go to her place of business?
to basically let her know that she might be fooling him, but she wasn't fooling me.
Miss Harris, you better get your priorities in order, and you better get your position and your son's life straight. What he does with his fiancée is none of your business. And if he chooses to confide in you as a parent, he's not asking you to do anything. He's just asking you to be a sounding board and to give him advice. He's not asking you to be a mediator. He's not asking you to get in between he and his fiancée. It's a very bad place to be, Miss Harris. Listen, she's bothering you. She's annoying you. That's not something that you come to court and you're compensated for. Do you understand?
Right.
But you have absolutely no case against her. None. Your case is dismissed.
Why does that excuse you may step out?
She has a very bad reputation in town.
She's just so hateful. She'll say anything.
I've seen her with other men. She's had men down in my son's apartment.
I mean, as far as being with anybody, I can count the people I've been with on one hand more than probably, you know, I can say for her.
I guess nobody's ever going to be good enough.
Not to be blunt, but everybody in town has had her, so no, I don't think she is.
Actually, she's told Steve that if we ever got married, she wouldn't be there, and then if we ever had kids, she wouldn't nothing to do with them.
His relationship with her will be his. If he wants a relationship with me, then we'll have to have a separate relationship.
I guess she's upset that she lost her case. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's anger talking. I'm not sure.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Raley versus Pontice. Step forward, please.
Railroad conductor Joseph Raley is suing his niece, 19-year-old student Katie Pontius, for loans to pay credit card bills and for the cost of bus tickets. Joseph says Katie is headed down the wrong path.
Mrs. Raley, I'd like you to stand up with your husband. Okay. This is your niece. Is this your sister's child or your brother's child?
My sister's child.
And according to what I read, you were very fond of her, probably still are, and you claim that you made a series of loans to her, one to take a bus trip, a vacation, and then after the trip she came back to live with you and you gave her a credit card to use, and you claim with the understanding that she would make the payments on the credit card, somehow pay you back for both the trip and the credit cards. Things didn't work out in your home with her. She didn't obey the rules. You told her to leave, and you want your money.
Yes, ma'am.
And your niece says that you were a wonderful aunt and uncle to her. You were almost like parents, and you did give her money for this bus trip, and you did give her a credit card, and she used them, but there was never any understanding that she would have to pay you back. Right?
Yes.
Do you have children?
No, ma'am.
So tell me about the first loan that you claim you made to her.
Well, my niece Katie, she had a troubled childhood, and when she turned 18, she wanted to leave home. She asked for my help, and I'd end up financing 6 bus trips for her.
Was your sister, her mother, in agreement that she leave home?
She was supportive.
Are there other children in the home?
She has 2 sisters,
Younger or older?
both younger.
What about your younger siblings? Are they still home?
My sister Roxanne, she's there. My son Matthew, who's 5 months old, and my sister Amber, who's 18.
Where did you get a 5-month-old son, Katie?
Got pregnant when I went to Utah.
That wasn't so smart.
Wasn't planned. It happened.
Got to be more careful.
Yeah, I have one on the way.
That's not being too smart.
I know.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She has a child that she cannot care for. She's going to have another one with yet another father. She doesn't have enough money to keep herself or her child in diapers or birth control.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Joseph Raley says his niece, Katie Pontius, owes almost $5,000 in loans. Joseph says Katie is a 19-year-old single mother with another child on the way.
You ever hear of birth control?
Yeah, I'm on it. I was on it. My doctor thinks I'm just immune to it or something.
Then maybe you'll be one of those unfortunate people who just have to try abstinence. If that's the case. I'd never heard of of somebody who was just immune to the ingredients in birth control, but you have to take them orally in your mouth.
I do.
Doesn't work anyplace else. Who's taking care of your 5-month-old baby?
I normally do.
Are you living back at home?
No, I've moved out. I'm living with my boyfriend right now.
And you and your boyfriend take care of the 5-month-old baby?
He is going to be coming to live with me.
So right now he's with your mother?
Yes, and my 2 sisters. She's trying to take custody of my son because I'm a college student and she thinks I can't financially support him. And so she's threatening to take him away. So I'm letting him stay with her right now at this point in time. I'm not signing over any rights. She thinks I am. But I'm getting my own place really soon here, and then I'm going to take him back.
But in the meantime, you're going to have another blessed event.
Yes.
What do you want from her?
Outside of this financial settlement, I want her to pay this bill.
From what?
From what?
From
well,
what?
when it started out,
She can't get herself arrested. She can only get herself pregnant.
she's got that part down.
She's got that part down pat. You're absolutely right. So you want her to pay for the bus trips that you financed?
Yes.
And after you financed the bus trips, when did she come to live with you?
She moved in with us October 7th, 2003.
And when did she leave?
She left approximately November 14, 5 weeks. She was with us for 5 weeks, went through 5 jobs.
And now we're a year and some months later. So what brings you to court now?
Well, there was a current event in August of 2004. She's going to school. She needed clothing. Most of it's clothing. Her mother said she'd back her up. When she got her Pell Grant, October 1st, 2004, she was supposed to have paid for that portion of the bill. The Pell Grant came and went, and I never got paid, so that was it.
So her mother guaranteed payment.
She said she'd back it up, and...
Her mother, is
yes.
what you're telling you, her mother guaranteed payment.
Yes.
I received my financial aid in October, but I didn't receive all of it. I'm waiting to receive the other portion of it. I had to buy my son diapers and food, and I had some bills to pay to my parents, because my parents need the money more than my Uncle Joe does. They are well set on money.
That's not your business. How well healed they are has nothing to do with you. They are not responsible for you. They are not responsible for your mistakes. They are not responsible for your clothes. The fact that they choose to keep advancing money to you is their error. But you can't make a judgment. Who are you to say that they have enough money, I don't have to pay them back? That if you want to pursue the matter of a loan, you pursue it with your sister. I don't think that you continue to give this young lady money up until a couple of months ago, understanding the circumstances of her life. That is, she has a child. She has a child that she cannot care for, who's being cared for by your sister. She's going to have another one with yet another father. She's all over the place, and yet you continue to advance her money. And it is my belief that you advanced her money not with the expectation that she was going to pay you back, but with the expectation that if you were going to see any of this money, it was going to come from your sister, not from her. She doesn't have enough money to keep herself or her child in diapers or birth control. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
20-year-old delivery truck driver Michael Johnson is suing 20-year-old landscaper Jim Cummings for sucker punching him at a party. Jim says Michael hit him first.
Order. All rise. This is case number 340 on the calendar, the matter of Johnson versus Cummings. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, folks.
Mr. Johnson, you were an uninvited guest at the defendant's birthday party. Is that right?
Not entirely, Your Honor.
Who invited you to his birthday party?
There was a group of friends that were meeting up there that night, approximately 5, including one of my witnesses, Eric Sullivan.
Who invited you?
I was
Oh,
told...
it's not an answer, sir. Let me refresh your recollection as to what you said in your complaint. On August 27th, 2004, my friends and I heard about a party. So my question to you is, who invited you?
Like I said, there was a group of friends that were meeting up there that night. I was told to come by.
So the answer is nobody invited you.
Correct.
Good. And it is your claim that when you got there, you'll tell me what happened, but that the defendant, whose birthday was being celebrated that evening at his home, right?
Correct.
Hit you, and you were injured. Mr. Cummings says you were in fact an uninvited guest at his party. He told you to leave. You hit him first, and he hit you back, right?
Correct.
How old were you?
20 years old, ma'am, on that day.
And who do you live with?
My parents.
You live in a house?
Yes, ma'am.
How big a house?
4-bedroom.
Where were your parents?
My parents were vacationing.
Got it? Had you discussed having a party at the house before they went on vacation?
Yes, ma'am.
And how many people did they say that you should have at your party?
They said 20 people was fine.
How many people showed up at your party?
20 to 25 people.
So you were 5 over quota.
Yes.
All right, Mr. Johnson, tell me what time you got to the party.
It's approximately 11:30.
Where had you been before?
My house.
With whom?
I was a designated driver for my friend Erica and Renee. She came by my house, picked me up, then we picked up Erica and went up to Nashua.
What happened when you got there?
We got there, we ran into a few of our friends. There's approximately 5 out of 30 to 40 some odd people that were actually there. I had asked my friend Corey if he knew who lived there. He didn't know. On my way up from the basement where I thought I heard some people that I knew. I did not. Came upstairs, someone had approached me, said, "Do you know, is Cummings down there?" And I said, "Sorry, I don't know who Cummings is." He laughed and walked away. Now, next thing I knew, I was surrounded by approximately 5 people, 5, 6 people. One of them had said, "Do you know who Cummings is?" I said, "No, I don't." And then he said, "Why don't you try and guess?" So, not knowing who he was, I said, "I don't know, you?" And they all started laughing. Now, the only one who wasn't laughing was the defendant, and he came up to me.
Because his name is?
Jim Cummings. He then approached me, gave me an open-handed slap in the face, and said, "You and your friends get the F out of my house." I then turned to my friend Erica. I said, "Well, seeing as how I was just slapped, I think it's time to leave." A couple people had stopped me, asked me what happened. I said, "I just got slapped in the face by the person who lives here, and I'm leaving." And then the defendant came back out and said, "All right, it's getting too loud. Everybody needs to get back inside the house." And he was looking at me when he said this. I said, "Well, I think I'm going to leave anyway."
Good idea.
I thought so. So I was walking to the car. It was parked inside of a cul-de-sac. We were walking to the car, and there was a girl there crying. She's like, "Oh, this is garbage. I'm so sick of this. I want to get out of here." And I said, "Hey, somebody else who hates this party."
Is that this young lady here?
Yes, it is.
What were you crying about?
That there were so many people there and it was getting outrageous.
Because why?
Because everybody was a little intoxicated. There really wasn't that many people there. It was like...
I asked you a question. I didn't ask you for a whole tale. I said, why were you crying?
Because there were too many people there and it was getting outrageous and the neighbors were coming over complaining. And
good. Now you can sit down. Okay, so?
So as I was walking to the car and I said that to her, next thing I know, out of right field, he comes up running from behind me. That's my effing girlfriend. He swings me around and punches me in the face at the same time.
Mr. Cummings, is that what happened, sir?
No, ma'am.
Why don't you tell me your version of what happened, Mr. Cummings? Were you drunk that evening?
I was slightly intoxicated as well as everybody else that was at the party, including him.
Well, I don't know. Just a second. Okay. I don't know whether he was intoxicated at all, sir. But I do know that if you were celebrating your 20th birthday, you were intoxicated.
Yes, ma'am.
And is this your girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Mr. Cummings, I want you to understand something. The reason your girlfriend was crying wasn't because there were too many people at the party. That's a fib, she just told me. I believe she was crying. But she was crying because something happened there at the party, because she's not so responsible that she's out there crying because there are too many people and the neighbors are coming over. Somebody told her to be quiet. That's not why she's crying. Either you said something to her or something happened there that upset her. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. Good. How old are you?
17.
17, because I know 17-year-olds. They don't get upset because there are too many people at a party. They get upset because maybe their boyfriend says something that they don't like. Maybe you were flirting with somebody else. Maybe you said something that wasn't nice to her. All of those things are possibilities, not because the party was too loud. That wouldn't cause her to cry. So now let's get back to, you tell me your version of what happened to Mr. Johnson.
He was being loud and obnoxious all night, and the neighbor from next door, she has small children, and I respect that, and she came over and asked me to quiet the party down, which I then asked a couple of my friends to go around and say, "Hey, calm down," and I did too. And I asked the defendant to calm down and his friends.
Where was he when you asked him to calm down?
He was inside the dining room drinking Bacardi-O. He came to my house with a half a bottle of Bacardi-O, which I assume the other half was consumed when he was at his house.
Go ahead.
I asked him then to leave. He got up, and then we were walking outside. Words were exchanged. He was swearing at me, saying, "F you, why am I leaving this party?" He was very upset because he had to leave and other people weren't leaving. I told him because because my neighbor, you know, asked me to calm down, and he was the only one that seemed to not calm down, was him.
So you're telling me, sir, that the story that Mr. Johnson just told me about going outside and seeing your girlfriend crying, that wasn't true. Is that what you're telling me?
No, he may have went outside.
Go ahead.
He may have went outside and seen my girlfriend crying, but that's not true, no.
Mr. Cummings, is what you're telling me that Mr. Johnson was not telling me the truth when he said he was outside of your home already before you hit him, and that's when he saw your girlfriend crying?
I don't know if it was at that same time, Your Honor. She was crying all night.
Michael Johnson claims he was punched in the face by Jim Cummings. Jim says Michael crashed his birthday party.
Why was she crying all night, Mr. Cummings?
Because she was upset with me.
Why?
Because we had broke up during the night. It's alcohol and booze and drama. That's what it is. It's a teenage party, you know? It's a teenage party. That's how it is.
Listen to me, Mr. Cummings. I'm aware of that, sir.
Okay.
That's why I said she wasn't telling me the truth when she gave me the reason that she was crying. Right?
Correct.
And that's why you're not telling me the truth, sir, about when this altercation took place with Mr. Johnson, because it took place outside.
Correct.
Not inside.
I was not done my story, Your Honor.
Then get to it, Mr. Cummings.
At that point, I asked him to leave. We went outside. He was exchanging words with me and swearing at me, and
Just
he
a
went
second.
outside.
If you asked him to leave,
okay,
and he went outside, why were you going outside?
because I was making sure that he was leaving, because he seemed to be the most obnoxious person there, Your Honor.
Not quite.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Keep going.
We went outside, and at that point, he then pushed me, and I pushed him back, and then he swung at me and hit me, and I counterpunched him in the face, and then he was gone, and that was it, and I didn't hear anything until this.
Who else was outside with you, Mr. Johnson?
I was, Your Honor.
Step up. Name?
Erica Galvin.
What happened outside, Miss Galvin?
Outside, we were going to leave, and we were everybody kept on stopping to ask us what happened. So it was kind of a delayed departure, but we did end up making it halfway to the car when Michael saw, apparently, his girlfriend and said, "Hey, somebody else who doesn't like this party." And that's when he came from behind him, grabbed him on the shoulder, and then punched him in the face as he was turning him around.
Sounds right.
And then that's when me, Eric, and a few other people tried to break it up, and 6 of his friends came flocking over and said, "Stay out of this is not your fight." And we just kept on saying, "We just want to leave." And I'd like to include that there was about 40 people there, and most of them were outside. And it was a kegger, so people were paying to get in. That doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be a definite invitation.
There has to be a definite invitation if you don't want trouble. Right?
If you don't want trouble.
If you don't want trouble. And when you have a kegger, you don't have 17-year-olds at the party, because if you have 17-year-olds at the party and serving alcohol, you're breaking the law. You're aware of that, Mr. Cummings, aren't you?
Yes.
Perfect. Can I see your medical bill, please?
Yes, there are
Thank
a few
you.
of them here.
Anything else you want to say to me?
I was not drinking at the party. I had not drank.
Is what you stand
Yes,
up?
I was
Stand
not.
up. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question.
Okay. Sorry, Your Honor. I was not drinking.
I didn't ask you whether you were drinking or not. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Is your statement that you weren't drinking as truthful as your statement moments ago that the reason you were crying is that there were too many people at the party?
Well,
I want you to think about my question.
I am.
You have to process my question.
I was not drinking. My parents, we live in the same neighborhood, me and Jim.
So just answer my question.
I
So
am.
were you
I was-
lying to me before
No.
when you said to me that the reason you were crying is
No.
because there were too many people? No.
No.
He says
Yeah,
that the
'cause
reason you were crying is because he had broken up with you.
I was upset that we broke up, but I live up the street, so if there was a loud party, my parents would come down and see me there, and I
Sit
was
down.
not.
Sit down. Sit down.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I mean, like I said,
I don't know because you're not saying anything. You're just
well, I mean,
comforting.
I don't know. I understand how she justifies that she's asked for the entertainment center when the only thing she's ever wanted was the bed.
Women change their mind.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michael Johnson claims he was punched in the face by Jim Cummings. Jim says Michael crashed his birthday party.
Go ahead.
After approximately 5 days of not being able to chew solid foods, I was on the slim fast and pudding diet. That is accurate.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, I have a friend a foot taller than him that wouldn't take him.
He's a big guy and he was drunk. That's why he was so nasty to his girlfriend. She forgave him. You forgave him, right? Huh?
Yes.
Stupid! Listen, Mr. Cummings, I don't believe you, sir. I believe that this young man came to your house. He was not invited to your birthday party by you.
I apologize, Your Honor. I just wanted to...
Perfect!
I just wanted...
Perfect! Apology is accepted.
Thank you.
This young man came to your house. He was uninvited by you. But it was a party, and that's what happens when teenagers and young people hear about a party around. You know, they hear the words, party, parents gone, on vacation, let's go have a good time. Came to your house, and there was absolutely no reason for you to hit him, except that you'd had a little too much to drink, and you have to pay for that. He's suing you for his medical bills, and not much for pain and suffering, almost $1,800.
Only $500 just for the pain and suffering.
I would have sued him for a lot more. It's got to be taught a lesson. Can't put your hands on somebody. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount requested, $1,779. That's all. Goodbye.
You, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He was just wasted, just yelling and being obnoxious, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we were there for all of about 10 minutes. You know, I was driving my friend's car. I wasn't drinking a thing.
He just put his hands up at my girl, and I just punched him in the face.
I can't even understand why you get so mad about it. I said, hey, somebody else who hates this party, rock on.
Moral of the story is, don't mess with the wrong people.
Gotta get a tooth yanked. Looking forward to some more pain.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Donahue versus Heinig, step forward, please.
21-year-old fitness consultant Megan Donahue is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old construction worker Brian Heinig, and his mother, Ann, for the return of a bedroom set and entertainment system.
Miss Donahue, this used to be your boyfriend, is that right?
Yes.
You have a child with him?
Yes, I do.
How old is that child?
9 months.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
And for a period of time, you lived in Mr. Heinig's home with his mother.
Yes.
And it is your claim that there was some sort of an altercation. You left, and Mr. Heinig refuses to give you back 2 items of furniture that you purchased that belonged to you. Mr. Heinig says that the bed he paid for and that the home theater was given to him. He doesn't say by whom. When did you move out?
April 9th.
And you moved out with your son?
Yes, I did.
Where did you move to?
My house, my parents' house.
When did you go back for your furniture?
April 9th is the last time I've ever been at their house.
When did you tell them you wanted the bed and the home entertainment center?
April 9th.
Okay. Now, what?
Well, I was there. My son was not there when she came back with her sister, and she did want the bed. She made no mention of an entertainment center. She was very emphatic about the bed.
How old is your son?
My son?
I'm 24, ma'am.
He's 24. Is he your youngest?
No.
Let him talk for himself. Let's deal with the entertainment center first, Mr. Heinig.
Mm-hmm.
Who bought it?
We had both bought it.
Who paid for it?
We had both paid for it.
How much did you pay for it?
I'd say $180 at least.
Yeah, I have receipts for everything I paid for and an itemized list of everything that I wanted back. And he did pay, when I was on maternity leave, he did pay part of the bed.
Okay.
And I did pay him back, and there's a council check in here proving that,
May I see
I
that,
paid
please?
him back. Yeah, that's all for the bed and everything.
Why did she give you a check in March of 2004 for $600?
I've never received a check for $600 in March. We weren't even talking together in March.
Yes, we were. I didn't move out till April 9th.
I never received a check
Would
for
you show him this, please?
$600. Oh, this is for the side work I was doing for her dad at the gym when I was rebuilding the gym.
Okay, so that's for work that you did for her father.
Yeah, when they own a gym.
Mm-hmm.
And there should be another check somewhere for $350 that they had also paid me.
No. Okay. Now, you say you paid her about $180, sir?
Well, that was for the TV.
How much was the television?
Maybe $240, I don't know, something around there. It was like a 27-inch TV.
Okay.
It wasn't bad.
And how much did you pay her towards the bed, which was...
I got $650 towards the bed.
Let us say that everything that you say is true, Mr. Heinig, that you did pay for some part of both the entertainment center as well as the bed. That doesn't mean that you get to keep both.
Understandable.
So how do you want to deal with it?
You know, I don't feel that, you know, I mean, like I said...
I don't know because you're not saying anything. You're just bumpering.
I don't know. I understand how she justifies that she asked for the entertainment center when the only thing she's ever wanted was the bed.
She's just... Women change their mind.
I'll give her the money for the bed, you know, but I mean, I think that that's the only thing I should give her the money for.
And the television, the entertainment
I'll give her
center?
I'll give her the television. She could have it.
Oh, great. So the entertainment center is to be returned to her within 5 days from today's date. You keep the bed, sir. You're going to pay her $750 for the bed. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff, $750 and the entertainment center within 5 days. Thank you.
27-year-old babysitter Jenny Zanquist is suing her former friend, 26-year-old baker Erica Perez, for unpaid babysitting fees. Erica says the state denied her financial aid. She is countersuing for harassment.
Come to order, all rise. Yes, case number 329 on the calendar in the matter of Zanquist versus Perez. You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat, please.
Ms. Zanquist, Ms. Perez and you were friends at one time.
Yes.
And you agreed to babysit for her children while she was working.
Yes.
According to you, the arrangement was you were going to get paid and then you would fill out some paperwork because she was entitled to child care from the state.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would accept the money that she got from the state for babysitting. Was that your agreement?
No, we had agreement, and when I first began babysitting, that when she receives her income tax, she will pay me. So I will watch them for $45 a day for 3 days a week, and that she will pay me when she gets her money from income tax.
When did you start to babysit for her?
In the month of December of last year.
And how many children do you have?
3, ma'am.
What kind of work were you doing in December of 2003?
I'm working at Dunkin' Donuts, though. Same job I've been working at for 3 years.
So you were working for Dunkin' Donuts.
Mm-hmm.
And how much were you earning there?
$7.10 an hour, ma'am.
You get paid every week or every 2 weeks?
Weekly.
How much is your net check every week?
Like $140.
Do you get any public assistance for the children in addition to the $140?
Yes, I receive food stamps from the state.
What other money do you get?
That's a child support for my son.
How much do you get in child support?
$93, ma'am.
A what?
A week.
How old are your children?
My oldest is 11, my middle one is 7, and my smallest one is 2.
Okay. And what do you do for a living, Ms. Ng?
I'm a student.
Full-time student? Were you a full-time?
No, part-time. Of course, I didn't register for school because I was depending on the income I was supposedly earning from watching the kids.
Is what you're telling me that you don't do anything right now? It's not an answer.
Put it like that. I do have a disability, so I don't do too much, but I am focusing on school.
When you start, you'll focus. Right now, you're not focusing.
When I start and I don't have to worry about trying to find a job, right?
Ms. Zanquist, how long had you and Ms. Perez been friends?
We've been friends on and off for 10 years.
Is she telling me the truth when she says she works at Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes, she is telling you the truth.
And she, I believe, is telling me the truth when she says she earns $7 an hour.
Yes.
And that her take-home pay is $140 a week.
Yes.
And how many days a week were you supposed to watch her children?
3 days a week. That's
Just
when
a
she
second.
works.
3 days a week. So you expected her to pay you $135 a week.
Yes, I did.
Which means she would go to work for Dunkin' Donuts for $5 a week.
If I can...
No, just a second. I'm doing the math. The math is simple. She comes home with $140 a week, and she was supposed to pay you $135 a week for taking care of her children. That's the math.
That's the math. Can I comment?
Sure.
Erica's working, like she said, 3 years there, part-time. She works there because it's mandatory from the state in order for her to get medical and food stamps benefits. She doesn't have expenses. She doesn't pay rent. Her father owns the house she lives in. She doesn't have any bills. We had an agreement, and she has the funds to pay for it. She has boyfriends that have money that support her, too. She has the money to make the agreement, and that's what happened.
Ms. Sanquist, Ms. Perez says that she was going to apply to the state, which does provide child care expenses for people who have low income, and that you did, in fact, fill out the paperwork.
Yes.
When did you fill out the paperwork?
We started the process around April or May.
When?
Your Honor, we started in July. I got papers.
July of what year?
Of 2004.
Well, she was babysitting for you from December until July.
No, Jessica's been babysitting my son, Your Honor, not all 3 kids. My son only since May of 2004.
Really?
Yes. I would never agree on paying a babysitter $135 a week when I only make a little chunk change.
It sounds
was
ridiculous.
never an agreement. No
Sounds
agreement.
ridiculous. Can I see the paperwork that you started to fill out?
And it's not my signature either. She forged my signature in it too, Your Honor. That's when it started, Your Honor.
Did you fill out these papers?
Yes.
Okay.
Could I say another thing, Your Honor?
Shh. Which child do you receive support for?
Cyrus, my son.
And Emily?
Emily and Melanie, I don't receive nothing for.
Well, they told you that in order for you to receive money, you have to at least apply for child support from the father of the other 2 children. Otherwise, they're not going to give you money through this program, Care for Kids.
He's in jail for murder.
Is that Emily's father?
No, that's Melanie's dad.
That's Melanie's father. What about Emily's father?
Emily's dad, child support, is looking for him right now. He got issues in court.
And a warrant for
and
his
he
arrest.
got a warrant out for his arrest.
For
through
domestic
child support.
violence.
Okay.
How you know?
Okay.
I know.
How much money, if any, Ms. Perez, did you receive from Care for Kids?
I don't receive no money from Care for Kids, ma'am.
Did you ever receive any
None.
money?
It goes under her name. The check comes under Jessica's name.
How much money, if any, did you receive from them?
Zero. Nothing.
Zero. Well, why
Can I comment?
Yeah, sure.
I didn't receive anything from Care for Kids because every time we applied, we were denied. Well, every time she applied, she was denied because of lack of information that she was supposed to provide, because of missing deadlines. They have deadlines. You miss it, they deny you. She was adamant about saying no, that we didn't start in January, February, March. In April and May, in the process of Care for Kids, we did start. The person I spoke to at 5/11/04 at 11:40 a.m. was Ingrid, and I have a list of names of people that I've been in contact with from this company.
All I have here, listen to me, all I have here is notification from the state that the application was received on July 9th, 2004. I don't have anything else. Listen to me. Do you have any proof that an application was submitted before that?
No, but I requested information, and they said they wouldn't give it to me, they would give it to her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She fought my sister in front of all the kids.
So you had a fight with her sister over somebody's ex-boyfriend, a story that, believe me, at this hour, I am totally disinterested in.
And later today,
While I may give you the car, I'm not going to give you the car and pay for your insurance, too, because that would be stupid.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jenny Zanquist says former friend Erica Perez owes for babysitting fees. Erica says Jenny incorrectly filled out the application for state aid.
Listen to me, madam. I do not believe you that you had an agreement with her to pay you $135 a week when all she earns is $140 a week. That just doesn't make sense. Nobody in their right mind is going to work for $5 a week and pay you $135 a week. What makes sense is that the two of you agreed that you would apply for this program and you would get the money from this program. She would turn it over to you and she would work. And the papers weren't filled out right, and then you had a fight. You had a fight because you had a fight over somebody's ex-boyfriend. I don't know whose ex-boyfriend. Whose was it?
Your Honor, she fought my sister in front of all the kids.
So you had a fight with her sister, and therefore all bets were off. That's what she says, that you had a fight with her sister over somebody's ex-boyfriend, a story that, believe me, at this hour, I am totally disinterested in. I am totally disinterested in the story of the fight that you had with her sister. As far as I'm concerned, when two ladies... What are you looking at me? It's such a ridiculous look on your face. I'm disinterested when ladies fight with each other. I think it's very unseemly. The only thing that I have to determine is whether I believe she made an arrangement to pay you her entire salary check. And I don't believe she did, so your case is dismissed.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Jessica's man now used to go out with my sister 5 years ago, so she got a grudge against my sister.
As far as the fight being over my boyfriend, it wasn't even about that.
She got him now. She's so insecure. She should be happy she got him now, though.
The guy has my name, Jessica, tattooed on his neck.
They make a perfect team together, both of them.
Show me the money.
She got what she deserves.
She's crazy. She's crazy. Everybody in Bridgeport knows she's crazy. She crazy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Denton versus Clevenger, step forward, please.
Computer analyst Julia Denton is suing her sister-in-law, student Patricia Clevenger, for the cost of a '96 Toyota RAV4. Julia says Patricia's husband totaled the vehicle.
Mrs. Denton, is this your brother?
Yes.
And this is your sister-in-law?
Yes.
According to your complaint, several years ago, your husband passed away.
Yes.
You say it was in 2001.
That's correct.
When he passed away, one of the things he had was an automobile that was in his name. You had a car, and you agreed to, at that time, let your brother and your sister-in-law use that car.
Correct.
Until the estate was settled, and with the understanding that when it was settled, you would sell them the car. Was that your agreement?
Well, we actually didn't make that agreement. When I loaned them the car to begin with, we didn't make that agreement. It took a long time for the estate to be settled. It wasn't settled until the end of May of 2004. As it got closer to that date, then we started talking about selling them the car. That was my intention, to either sell it to another party or sell it to them if they were still interested in buying it.
Once the estate was settled?
Right, because I was not able to sell any of the assets. He did not have a will, and I was the administrator of his estate. Right.
Okay. Now, you gave them the car to use from 2002, according to your complaint, until 2004. Now, my question to you is, in whose name was the car titled in 2004?
The title was in my late husband's name until after the accident.
Okay. Now, according to you, you insured the car up until May or June of 2004.
Correct.
And then sometime in May or June, you found out that you had started to insure the car.
I did insure the car. After,
when?
In May, after her mother told me that she was no longer carrying insurance on the car.
Okay, so you started to carry insurance on the car, even though you had no insurable interest in the car.
At that point, we felt like the car had been given to us. We had already tried to return the car several times. She said she had no use for the car.
Excuse me, Your Honor, that's a lie.
Just a minute, I'll get there. And at some point, about a month or so later, your husband had an accident with the car and it was totaled.
Yes.
And you got a check for how much?
$4,687.
Which you feel rightfully belongs to you.
Correct.
And you feel none of that belongs to her because it was your insurance policy.
Correct.
What do you think?
She gave us the car.
Stand up.
She gave us the car 3 years ago. We offered to give it back to her several times. She didn't want the car back. She had 2 cars and 1 driver.
Yes.
She had a Corvette.
Well, what did you say? I'm just curious. What did you say when you offered to give her the car back?
I said, here's the RAV back. You know, you can have it back. She said, no, keep it. Drive it. That's exactly her words.
Okay.
Keep it.
Now, why did you bring it over there?
Well, actually, I brought it over there to make sure that I wasn't encroaching upon her, to make sure that it was a gift, and if she wanted it back, she could have it back.
So you brought it back to her to see if you were encroaching?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Ms. Denton. When did you have the first conversation with regard to the estate settling and some papers that would necessarily have to be exchanged?
I found out that they had started to insure the car on June 17th. Up until that time, I carried full coverage insurance on the car.
You have any proof of that?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. Put your hand down. Now, this car was a 1996 Toyota?
Yes.
It was insured until the 17th of June, 2004. Not May. It was insured until 17 June, 2004.
Okay.
Full coverage. So you are mistaken that the car was not insured after May. So whoever gave you the information was mistaken.
That would be their mother.
Well, I don't know who it was, but certainly you didn't verify that with her, right?
No, I did not.
Right.
What had happened was, Your Honor, because I had been paying the insurance the whole time, I would give the little cards to my mother, because she lives in the same town they do, to go and give to them, and I had given her the wrong card. And she looked at the date and told them that there must not be insurance on the car because it's expired. They got insurance without my knowledge.
I don't see how they could get insurance. They had no insurable interest in the car.
It was a gift.
You had no insurable interest in the car. That's a matter of law. The car is not in your name. It would be like you deciding that you like the look of Bird's car and saying, I'm going to take out insurance on his car just in case he has an accident. And if he has an accident, I can collect on his car. You have to have an insurable interest in the car. The car was not in your name. And it's not something that is worth family feuding over. Sir, you have to use common sense. If she gave you the car, then the common sense would be, I cannot transfer the title to you in this car until the estate is settled, and that may take several years. But I'm giving you the car. But while I may give you the car, I'm not going to give you the car and pay for your insurance too, because that would be stupid. Put your hand down, troublemaker. Do you understand, sir? I'm ignoring your wife because she is not related to this lady, and you are.
Yes, ma'am.
So she doesn't care if she makes trouble, this one, but you should care if she makes trouble. If your sister was giving you the car as a gift, I would say to my brother, David, I want you to have this car. We can't do the paperwork on it right now. All you have to do is you take care of the maintenance, you take care of the insurance, you take care of all the expenses on the car, and at the appropriate time, I'll just transfer the title over to you. I would not say to him, I'm going to pay for all the expenses, including the insurance on the car.
She didn't pay for all the expenses.
The insurance! No, she's supposed to pay the expenses. I mean, something wrong with you? You look like a perfectly healthy man. Do you work? Are you employed?
Yes, yes, I am.
Then why should she pay for the expenses? You're driving. Listen to me. Listen what you did with your wife. You had the full use of a car for 2.5 years. You had it fixed when it needed to be fixed. You put gas and oil in the car. You did whatever you had to do. Somebody else paid for the insurance. Then, at the 11th hour, because your wife got some misinformation, you insured the car. You had not paid for the car. And you came into a windfall of almost $5,000 for something that wasn't yours. Listen to me, sir. Under your theory, if you had had the car in April, which you did, of 2004, and if you had had an accident and she was paying for the insurance at the time, who would have gotten the insurance money? I'm not asking. Put your hand down.
She obviously would have gotten it.
Right. She would have gotten the money. Would you have sued her?
Her insurance would have also paid for it.
Ma'am, I wouldn't sue a family member.
Right, because you would have done the right thing. And the right thing is you don't come away with a windfall of almost $5,000, which is outrageous. Outrageous.
We did have medical expenses after the wreck.
Whose fault is that? Hers?
No, but her insurance would have paid it if she was carrying insurance.
Whose fault is that? Hers?
We
If
used
you
the
had
check to pay
medical
for the
insurance,
medical
sir,
expenses.
nobody would have had to pay medical insurance for you. You would have had taken care of it with your medical coverage. And if you're a working person, I assume your wife is working. She looks like she's an able-bodied person. You should have medical insurance.
She's a full-time student.
She's too old to be a full-time student if she has other responsibilities.
I am a full-time student.
Okay. You owe $4,687. Judgment for the plaintiff. No good deed goes unpunished, madam.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on McKenzie versus Cooper. Step forward, please.
62-year-old Betty McKenzie says 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor while she was in line at her bank. Lonnie says it was Betty who did the shoving.
So you two people are online in a bank. You never saw each other before, is that right?
That's right.
You say this nice gentleman over here assaulted you. He says that you assaulted him. I can hardly believe that, looking at the two of you. So, Miss McKenzie, let me hear your version of what happened at this bank.
Okay. He was on my right.
You're online?
Yes, I'm in the line. He was on the right.
What was he doing on the right?
He was at a teller.
He was at the teller.
He was at the teller.
So he was in front of you and to the right.
That's right. I was getting ready, the man was getting ready to come out the teller on my left. The man dropped a piece of paper.
Which man dropped a piece of paper?
The man that was coming out the teller on my left.
So what happened?
I told him he dropped a piece of paper. He said, forget it. And he walked on out the door. The man on my right, he gonna come in front of me to pick up the piece of paper with his right hand.
That's this gentleman?
Yes, and take his left hand and knock me to the floor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The lawyer thought you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. And it wasn't the bank's fault because Mr. Cooper had bad manners.
Yeah.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 62-year-old Betty McKenzie says while standing in line at her bank, 72-year-old Lonnie Cooper knocked her to the floor. Mr. Cooper denies any wrongdoing and claims Ms. McKenzie was the one who caused the disturbance.
Mr. Cooper?
Yeah. In the first place, it was on the right-hand side of the teller, and the fellow, the elderly gentleman in front of me, dropped most of his stuff, and I reached down to try to help him, and she busted on past, and I did this to her. I didn't know what it was, and in turn, she wound up over in there.
What do you mean, Mr. Cooper? She brushed on past you.
Well, she was behind me, so she didn't have no business in front of me.
Just a second. What do you mean she brushed on past you, Mr. Cooper?
Yeah, just like that. And
who is this?
It's a witness.
Is that your witness?
Character witness.
I'm not interested in a character witness. I assume that you're both characters. Because anybody who can get involved in this is got to be a character. Now listen to me. You stand up for a second. I want you to show me how she brushed on past you.
Come on. See the...
You're her. So tell me, show me what she did to you.
The elderly gentleman was up front.
Right.
And I was here and trying to help him with his stuff.
Right.
And then she come past me, and I shoved her like that, and she went over into the...
Right.
See, she was behind me.
I understand that, sir. Mr. Cooper, step back to where the microphone is. Sit down. Mr. Cooper, why did you push her?
She came, brushed past. I told you I was standing in front trying to help the fella with the papers on the floor.
Why did you push her?
I didn't push. She came past just like that.
No, you pushed her. You just told me that you pushed her.
But it was on the right-hand side.
I don't care if right, left, middle. It doesn't make any difference, Mr. Cooper. You pushed this lady down. You had no right to do that, sir.
Well?
Yes, that's what you told me. You told me that you pushed her. And she fell. She's not 12 years old. You pushed the lady, she fell down.
Go around pushing women.
Well, but you did push her,
if she
sir.
had acted like a lady and stayed in line like she's supposed to, this would never be happening.
Mr. Cooper, you are not a... Shh.
Order.
Mr. Cooper, you are not a behavior monitor. A bank behavior monitor. If she did something wrong, you might have said something to her, but you had no right to push her. Now, Miss McKenzie, my question to you is
I didn't intend to push her. I wouldn't have to push her if she had stayed back there where she was supposed to be.
Okay. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Cooper. You're not following me, sir.
Okay.
Miss McKenzie, you say you were injured.
Yes,
How were you injured, madam?
Like I said, he pushed me to the floor hard. My ear, my back, my legs, I got photos of it.
Can I see it, please? Ooh, that's a nasty. That's just between you and me, okay? Do you have doctor's reports?
Yes, I do.
May I see them, please? I don't think that once you pass the age of 2 or 3, you ought to show your rear end in public. I mean, that's a... So you keep the photographs.
Yes, I will.
How would she get past me if I'm in front of her?
Mr. Cooper, stop being a nudnik.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had medical bills of $2,645?
That's one of them.
When did this incident occur? What date?
The 4th of March.
This wouldn't have happened if she had been a lady and stayed back there where she was supposed to be, but she wanted to be bullheaded.
Mr. Cooper, she has a lot of medical bills here, and you did the wrong thing. You have medical bills that are about $3,000, $4,000. Were any of them reimbursed by your insurance?
No.
Why not?
I had got a lawyer at first, but he had thought it was the bank. And then when he found out it wasn't a bank, then I had to take it on my... Yes.
Don't you have medical insurance?
I had Medicaid.
Did you submit these bills to Medicaid?
No, well, my doctor had told me not to do that.
Your doctor told you not to do that because your lawyer thought he was going to be able to work up a big medical bill so that you were going to be able to get a lot of money from the bank. Right. And it wasn't the bank's fault because Mr. Cooper had bad manners.
Yeah.
But I think, Mr. Cooper, that what you did to this lady was wrong, and she suffered for months as a result of your pushing her. She's suing for $5,000. That's what I'm giving her, $5,000, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy...
Teeters, Holman versus Slatter. Step forward, please.
25-year-old Cammie Holman says 24-year-old vacuum salesman Jeffrey Slater swept her off her feet, conning her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says after he and Cammie split up, she began harassing him for money.
Order. All rise. This is number 252 on the calendar in the matter of Teeters, Holman versus Slatter. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Mrs. Teeters? Is that you? Miss Holman? Mother and daughter. Former live-in boyfriend.
Correct.
I have two complaints here, and according to both complaints, at some point you met him and he moved into your house. Your house. And did you move in there with your child, sir?
Yes.
You have a daughter?
Yes.
How old is she?
3.
You have custody of her?
Not full custody, no.
Were you living with her full time when you moved into their house?
With my daughter, partial time, half and half.
And according to the complaint, during the time that he lived there, each of you were foolish enough to let him use a credit card, and he ran up substantial bills on those credit cards, and then took off. Why don't you start? First, what prompted you to let him move into the house?
Well, I was going to rent a room to somebody anyway to help me make ends meet, and they were getting together, and he was interested in moving out from his mother's place. She was driving him nuts or something, so he needed a place to live. So it worked out. It seemed fine for both of us.
But according to these papers, he moved into your daughter's room.
Yes, they were a couple by then.
So that didn't help to pay your bills if...
Well, he was going to pay rent. Yes, he was paying rent.
He was paying rent?
Yes, he paid the rent.
How much rent did he pay?
$400 a month.
Okay, now would you mind telling me why you gave him a credit card?
It started out just, you know, he wanted to make some purchases, and he only got paid every 2 weeks, and he was gaining weight, needed clothes and what have you, and he would give me a post-dated check. And I let him do that, and he did. The first couple of purchases, he gave me a check, and I held it, and then, you know, when he got paid and it was good, I mailed it in to the credit card company.
Did you give him his own credit card, or did you just let him use yours?
No, he had authorization. Cammie has copies of my cards. We have, you know, 2 cards on the account, so if she was with him and they were shopping, they would get something and put it on my card. And he gave me a check and paid me back. So the first 2 or 3 times, you know, that was swell, it worked. And he wanted to make some larger purchases, and the arrangement...
Like what?
Oh, well, he was trying to build his car to race, so he wanted like a transmission, and he had this good deal and a converter and different things that he was buying. And the arrangement was that he would make the payments to the credit card company, and that worked for me because then I didn't have to come up with the minimum. My minimum would be met. And he would get behind, like it would be 2 or 3 months. I'd get phone calls from the creditors, and they'd say, "You're behind," and I would check with him, and he'd say, "Oh, I mailed it, I'll call them and straighten it out." So he did make some small payments on the minimums on the account. I can't say for the first few months because it would be 2 or 3 months before he made a payment, but you see,
Okay, now how much does he owe
all?
altogether on your credit card? Take it out. We'll show it to him. Together with the purchase.
The total that I have mine made up for is $4,926.60. That's documented amounts.
Okay. Have you shown those to him, those charges?
Yes, he has copies. He
You
has
have
been
copies
given
of those,
copies
sir?
in the past of all
I've had
of them.
copies. I don't have them with me now.
But you've seen them?
I've seen them, yeah.
Good. Now, what about your credit card?
Okay, my credit card started out with he needed a gas tank fixed in his 68 Camaro because at the beginning of our relationship, that was his transportation to work. He didn't have the money.
First, what prompted you to have him come into your house? How long had you known each other before you decided to move him into your house?
We were friends before, and then we got together, and we were together every day since. And so
How long?
How long? That once we got together?
Now, how long were you friends first?
Oh, May of '96.
Yes.
And then got together July 4th.
Of '96?
Yes.
A really long courtship. At least 8 weeks.
Well, he's a very smooth talker. I was also coming out of a bad marriage, and it's nice when someone tells you, you know, all these wonderful things about you and makes you feel wanted and loved, which is what I needed at the time, I guess. And I think he played on that too, but that's a personal thing.
So he moved in?
Yes. And we made a room for his daughter. She had her very own room. My mom and I purchased all the stuff to decorate it. We made them, it was their home.
Are any of these bills for what you did in furnishing his daughter's room?
No. And Tiffany has her bedding and stuff. Her mother has it. She uses it with Tiffany.
But those were gifts?
Right, those were gifts, yes.
Okay, but so now tell me about how you came to give him your credit card.
He needed a gas tank, like I said, the repair, and he didn't have the money. And, you know...
Did you know that he was already using your mother's credit card?
No, he hadn't. He used mine before he used my mom's.
Did you know that he had used your daughter's before you let him use yours?
I don't really remember if I knew it specifically that he had.
Go ahead.
So we got his gas tank repaired. He was driving a long distance, and he'd run out, basically have to fill up just to get back home because it was all pouring out on the ground.
And how much was that?
That was $120. That's rough. I mean, I have it of the credit card thing.
Okay, but there were a lot of bills here, according to you. 3,000 some odd dollars worth.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 25-year-old Cammie Holman says the man she thought she loved, 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater, conned her and her mother, Lois Teeters, out of thousands of dollars. Jeffrey says Cammie is angry because they broke up.
Give me an idea of what he was purchasing on your credit card.
On mine specifically?
Not yours.
Robinson's May. He needed new clothes. Like my mom stated, he had gained weight when we got together. I guess he liked my mom's cooking. I don't know. So there were lots of purchases for new clothes for him, as well as one of his mom's Christmas present was purchased on my Robinson's May card.
Did you purchase your mother's Christmas present on her credit card?
She purchased it, yeah.
He was with me at shopping. His mother would not have gotten a Christmas present, or her boyfriend, if it hadn't been me paying for it.
Well, I understand that, but did he say, can I buy my mother a Christmas present and put it on your card?
No.
Shh. Did he say that to you?
He said, I said, we need to go shopping and buy your mom something. He said, well, what should we do? I said, well, let's go to Robinson's May and get something for her. So we went, because I have a Robinson's May card. But that's only $21.54. That's...
Well, you see, that's a problem.
Right.
Because in order to have an agreement for him to pay you back, there has to be some sort of an agreement. This wasn't a, you know, I'll lend you the money to buy your mom a Christmas present.
So we can get rid of the Christmas
so
present.
give me
That's
some
fine.
others.
Okay, so he got clothes for him, $297.25, $132.50, $43.09. Those are all clothes for him.
Give me some of the big bills that come up to $3,000.
Jacob's electronic system, that is an electronic system for his 68 race car, his Camaro. It's an electronic system.
And how much was that?
Part of it was $515.44. The other part is $281.85.
Does that, Mr. Slater, have a familiar ring to it?
I know exactly what the Jacob system is.
No, but does that
bill?
Yeah, the bill, no, I know exactly what it is.
Well, then tell me about it, sir.
Well, during the time that we were living together, I went ahead and we were building my race car, or at the time we were building it.
What do you mean we were building your race car?
They were helping me purchase items for my car.
Yeah.
And during that time, I purchased an electronic system for making the car run proper, and I went ahead, ordered it with their consent, and when it came in, as time came on, I gave money for it over a period of time.
So you're telling me that you paid it all off?
I'm not saying I paid everything, because a lot of the stuff that we had purchased were purchases together.
No, not for your car.
Just
If
a
I wanted-
second.
I'm sorry.
Let's just talk about the car. I mean, I read your answer, and you seem to say, I don't owe her anything. That these were things that were purchased sort of as a couple.
A lot of stuff was purchased as a couple, yes, but as the car, over the course of time that I've lived there, I have paid money to the credit card companies
How
direct.
much? Show me.
This here, what I have in my hand, is basically a check register on two different things that shows
I'm not
documentation.
interested in your check register, sir.
Well, what I'm saying is this here shows what I paid, when I paid, and amounts.
It shows nothing. Canceled checks show what you paid.
Okay, well, I can get canceled checks, but I did not get any, you know.
Well, where did you think you were coming today, sir? To a ball? You were
Well-
coming to court. What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a store manager.
Which means that you know something about business.
Correct.
Right? You can take a check register and sit down and do it almost like a novel. Write whatever you want in there. That's why we use canceled checks as proof. What is that? That is nothing. A
No.
check register is a nothing. How much did he pay in total on your credit card?
I don't know. I didn't include any of the ones that he had paid.
None?
No.
And what about you, Cammie?
He gave me about $140. That went to, he took my car to Bakersfield.
Whatever. He gave
And
you about
used a gas card.
$140.
Yes.
Can I
it
see some of
wasn't
these?
credit
Now I
cards.
want to take a look at some of the charges.
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Just the
Please.
Yeah.
There's letters in there saying, we highlighted some
I don't
parts
want the
for you.
letters. I just want to see
Okay. It just says that he's going to pay us. So I didn't know that particular one right there on top.
Jacobs Electronics ignition system, $515. Is that you?
That was mine.
Okay. How about a trip to Texas airfare? What is that?
When we were dating, we were going to plan a trip to go to my father's house, and I didn't have the money at the time, and she made the arrangements with my job. She went ahead and purchased the tickets for me, Cammie, and my daughter, and we flew out.
This was for me to go back and meet his family, to meet his family.
Is that what the trip was intended for, sir?
It was just supposed to be a trip for all of us to go visit, because I haven't seen my father in quite a few years.
Well, why should she pay for that?
It was a gesture. She said okay, and then I was going to pay part of it.
You were going to pay part of it?
Yeah, I was.
How much?
As much as my plane ticket was.
And what about your daughter?
Well, we hadn't talked about that.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Pay $72 to get your hair styled. They're ripping you off, sir.
Real people, Judge Judy. Cammie Holman says she thought she loved 24-year-old Jeffrey Slater until she realized he was conning her and her mother, Lois Teeters. Jeffrey denies the allegation.
We have something here. Spark plugs.
Yeah, he bought new spark plugs and wires for his car, Excel. It was at an auto parts store.
that
They
you
wouldn't
t-
take his check.
Is that you, sir? Spark plugs.
Yes,
Does that
probably.
sound familiar? Why don't you
could be.
pay your own bills? Why are you relying on these two ladies to pay your bills?
During that particular thing there, they would not accept a check from me at that time for whatever reason.
So why don't you just give them cash? Everybody accepts cash.
I didn't have cash on me.
Well, why
And
don't you
then-
just go to the bank and get cash?
Well, we were going to, but Cammie said, well, why don't we just put it on my charge and then you can pay me
he
back.
said, can we just use your charge instead of having to leave and go to the bank and come back?
All right. Look, there came a time when you left, right?
Yes.
Why?
Things were working out between us, and I decided, things were going to work out for the long term, and I wanted to get out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I left, things started getting more hectic. I had to have the cops called on her at my job.
Why is that, sir?
Because he hit me and threw me on the ground and left bruises, which the bruise pictures are at home. We accidentally forgot him.
When she came in my job, she come in ranting and raving because she didn't want me to leave, first of all. And
Because you owe my
I
mom
said,
money.
okay. She came in just ranting and raving because I was leaving. She didn't want me to leave. And then after she hit me, I defended myself and pushed her to the ground. Yes, I did. And then after that, I got up, grabbed the phone to make a phone call to the police. And at that time, when I started coming up, she comes around our counter bin and hangs up the phone. And then grabs me by the hair and just yanks a ton of
that's
hair
not
out.
what happened.
And then during that time, you know, then she's saying, well, you owe my mom this, you owe my mom that, and I want it this and that. And then my phone rang. I finally got away from Cammie. And when the phone rang, I answered the phone, and it was the Fullerton Police Department when they had to come out and
How
take her.
much after you left did this incident occur? Assuming, sir, that what you say is true, how much after you left did she come to your job?
Oh, she came to my job a couple times, but we had numerous amount of phone calls during the day. And then what finally ended up happening after I had the cops come, I had to leave that job and go to a whole different area and get away from them because of the phone calls and everything else. I was in the verge of losing my job because of it.
And how much money have you sent to both plaintiffs since you left?
Since I left?
Yes.
Not specifically to them, but that I sent to the credit card companies are probably around maybe $800 or so.
Just a minute. $800?
Roughly.
Show me the last bill here. And now, in what month did you leave, sir?
May.
Now take out your last check register. I love it when a game plan comes together. Your last check register, sir, since May.
This particular one right here is one of the last ones that I made.
The last bill that came from NBNA and stuff, I think.
May. What date did he leave?
May 1st.
May 1st.
That's what time I told him to get out. He came
Just
and
a second. Shh. Is your credit card MBNA?
That's mine.
That's yours. All right. So here we have MBNA, $140. And then we're going to go down, and I'm going to see if I can find after May the rest of the $800. Let's see here. I must be missing something.
It might be right in April, too, when I paid some money.
We're not talking about April. I'm talking about since you left, sir.
Well,
I speak English. Do you speak English?
Yeah.
You said after May, after you left, you gave her about $800, and that your check register is accurate. So I see May 15th, $140. I'm just looking for the rest of the $800. I see one in July to a Powerhouse Gym for $350.
No,
Just later.
That's something else.
That's something else.
And that might be not be the most current one because I had to change bank accounts.
No, this goes, sir, through all of the months. June, July, August. This does
I know,
everything.
but I have 2 different checking accounts.
Sir, you see anything written on my forehead? Huh?
No.
Who's Nicole?
My hairstylist.
Pays $72 to get your hair styled.
He pays for
They're
his
ripping you
girlfriends
off,
as well.
sir. Well, so far, sir, all I see of the $800 is $140. Nothing else. I see another $380 for your gym. You spend a lot of money between your haircuts and gym. Nothing for what you owe.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Sir, you have to take responsibility for what you do. These people are not related to you by blood. They are not related to you by marriage.
Thank God.
You had a relationship with this young lady. She thought it would work out. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. In any event, you spent a lot of their money. Not only did you spend it, you enjoyed it, and you have the fruits of it. You're driving around in a car, unless you sold it, that they fixed. You're wearing nice clothes that they paid for. You have a nice stereo system that you listen to. And on and on and on, based on these bills that you say you saw. So you owe them the money. And your excuse that you didn't have an agreement with them is just a lot of baloney. I mean, I don't think that these are ladies that have an awful lot of money. And I think, furthermore, your conduct, knowing that you owe them the money and spending in 2 months' period of time almost $800 on a gym and $70 to get your hair coiffed is a lot of nerve. So the judgment in the case is for one plaintiff in the amount of $3,000 and the other in the amount of $4,900. That's all.
Excuse, you may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next...
Parties on Coleman versus Smith. Step forward, please.
39-year-old Philadelphia transit worker Vanessa Coleman says a man she used to date, Theodore Smith, stole her car for 2 days, then returned it damaged. Mr. Smith claims he had Vanessa's permission to take the car and is not responsible for the damage to the vehicle.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Judge, number 220 on the calendar in the matter of Coleman versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, Miss Coleman, you say that Mr. Smith stole your car.
Yes.
He said he borrowed it with your permission. In any event, the car, something happened to it, it was damaged. You want to get paid?
Yes.
So first let's start on the 27th of June, which is when this whole thing came down, I understand. He took the keys from your house.
Yes.
Tell me how that happened.
I had got home from work early this day, and the maintenance man, name is Derek, asked me if I could run him and Mr. Smith up to cash their check.
He was a neighbor of yours?
Yes, he's a neighbor. And so I did this and came back home, and I knew I was going out that evening, so I came in to change, to get ready. So while I was in the house changing, Mr. Smith rang my bell. I asked who it was, and it was saying he responded, so I went to the door and let him in. So we were down there talking, and I noticed that I have a countertop in my living room that the keys were laying there. So I went back upstairs and told him that I was getting ready to go out that evening, and I left him downstairs. So anyway, as I got ready to come back down to leave, I noticed that my keys weren't on the counter anymore. So I figured, well, maybe I took them back upstairs. And I went back upstairs, and I didn't see the keys up there either. And I checked all in my pocketbook, and I couldn't find my keys.
Didn't find the keys? So did you call the police?
I called the police that evening because I waited to see maybe he would bring the car back. So I waited and waited, and I did finally call the police and report the car stolen that evening.
Now, that was June 27th?
June 27th.
When did you get the car back?
My niece found the car June 29th, which was a Sunday.
And what was the condition of the car when it was found?
Trying to move the car wouldn't move.
Okay, so it was damaged.
So it was damaged.
Well, he acknowledges that the car was damaged while you were driving it, sir. Now, why don't you tell me your version of how you got possession of these keys?
Ms. Coleman and I, we live 2 doors apart from each other.
Had you been friends before this happened?
Yes, we were. Yes, we were. We were also seeing each other.
No,
and
we weren't,
probably starting what I would call the start of a relationship.
What do you mean?
She and I had spent time in each other's house a couple of times, having dinner, ice cream, these sort of things.
That's nice.
I've used the car before, and I've driven the car and brought it back.
With her permission?
With her permission. I had asked her, could I use the car to make an errand to my mother's house? My mother lives in walking distance, 10 minutes, and driving, it's 2 minutes. The car was parked 4 blocks away from my mother's house.
Just a second. You asked her, according to you, you asked her if you could ride to an errand to your mother's house.
Yes, I did.
You didn't tell me what she said.
She said yes. She gave me the keys, which was a full set of keys. At that time...
And you intended to be back in...
In moments, because
moments.
She had told me she...
You intended to be back in moments, and you knew she was going out.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
She gave me the keys. Her and the landlord were standing on the pavement, talking, as I got into the car and exited the block. About 5 minutes into the journey after the car, I stopped at the intersection. I tried to engage the shifter to go on. The car wouldn't move. It
All
didn't
right,
respond.
you knew at that point, to make a long story a little shorter, you knew at that point that there was something wrong with the car.
Yes.
What did you do then?
I had a friend who was with me.
Which friend was with you?
A gentleman I picked up.
Just a second. A gentleman you picked up where?
This was on the block of my mother's house. The
Who
street
was
where
that?
my mother lived at.
Who was that?
It was a gentleman named Boo.
Boo.
Right.
Does Boo have a last name?
Boo Rogers, yes he does.
What'd you pick up Boo for?
He was going in the same direction I was coming back. So I was giving him a lift.
So what you're saying to me was you had already been at your mother's house.
Yes.
So you did the errand at your mother's
Yes,
house
I did.
already. You sure about that?
Yes.
Go ahead. And you're on your way back with Boo in the car.
Right.
Go ahead.
The car broke down at the intersection. We both got out. We pushed the car. At that time, I'm not knowing too much about cars. I asked him. He didn't know too much about cars. So I went to a payphone. I called a friend who did know about cars. He came and checked the car out. He told me, Mike...
Why didn't you call her?
Well, at that particular time, I wanted to see what was wrong with the car.
Now listen, Mr. Smith, let's talk logic here, sir. You said you were going to be back in 2 minutes. You knew she was going out. Now you're out for well beyond 2 minutes. You pick up Boo. Then you call one friend. The person that you don't call is the person whose car it is, who has to go out, and you know that she was going out. So I don't understand why you didn't pick up the phone and say, I'm going to try to fix the car. I'm having some trouble with it.
I agree with you.
Good. I'm glad you do. It makes me feel better. Go ahead.
Thank you. So the gentleman came, we looked at the car, and he told me that the clutch was dry. It needed hydraulic clutch fluid.
Okay, so then what did you do?
Well, we tried
Now
to
we're looking for fluid.
Right.
We got Boo and we got fluid.
Exactly. I tried to get the fluid.
How did you try to get the fluid, sir?
We went to an auto supply store.
And how far away from where the car was?
It was a
that?
distance.
How about how far, sir?
10-minute ride.
How'd you get there?
In his car. The gentleman who came to look at the car who was a
Just a
mechanic.
minute. Let me understand this. All this time you haven't called her yet?
No, I haven't.
Keep going.
That was it.
And so what'd you do?
Upon not getting the car started, again, I did not call her. I went home. I tried to contact her then.
How did you try to contact her?
By calling her on the phone.
And what happened?
I got no answer.
I'm having too good a time with this, please. So you tried to contact her, you called her, and there was no answer.
Exactly.
So I assume you wrote out a note.
No, I did not.
Because you're right next
No,
door.
I
You
did
wrote
not.
out a note and you say, don't worry about your car, it broke down, here's where it's located. You went and tacked it on a door.
No, I did not.
No, you did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The reason why I sued him for that because...
to teach him a lesson.
Yes.
And later today...
So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. You really are nasty.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 39-year-old Vanessa Coleman says Theodore Smith stole her car and returned it 2 days later with extensive damages. Theodore says Vanessa gave him permission to take the car and denies any responsibility for the damage.
It's not really urgently important, Miss Coleman. Listen to me. It's not urgently important whether he drove the car with or without your permission. He's responsible for the damage to your car. Now, I don't think he can look me in the eye and deny that, right, sir?
I agree with you.
Right. So, did you have the car fixed?
Oh, yes.
Let me see the repair bill. When did you finally tell her where the car was?
Never.
I didn't. The car was recovered Sunday morning. I woke up, came out, the car was in front of her house.
Weren't you curious as to how she found it?
Not really. No. No.
I don't understand these bills, Miss Coleman.
Okay,
Let's understand.
The short bill is the actual estimate that all the damages that I had done to the car. The other estimate is just for the damage that he did, which was to the clutch and the shifter.
Well, $460. Is that what you paid for the damage that he did?
I paid $900 and but it's not 45.
Yeah,
I
but
paid
you
for
know,
all
you're not talking about a
damages.
wheel alignment and front brakes.
See, I didn't
and outer
charge him.
seats.
I didn't charge him for that. I just charged him for the clutch and the shifter.
But she's
Yes.
suing me for $945.
Just a second.
And the reason why I sued him for that because
to teach him a lesson.
Yes, he denied. he denied to pay me anything except for the $60 he gave me.
He gave you $60?
He gave me $60.
What'd you give us $60 for, sir?
The first day that this had happened and she told me she was putting the car in the shop,
yeah.
I said, okay, I'm going to give you some money to start on. This is initial payment. Give me a receipt and I'll pay the rest gladly.
Right.
She never gave me a receipt. She refused to give me a receipt. This happened on...
All right, got it. Listen, Miss Coleman. He has to pay for the damage he did on the car. If I could add on a couple of bucks for bad manners, you know, I would do that, but that's not what we're about.
Yes.
He's got to pay for the damage he did to the car, $460.
Yes.
And I would suggest to you, if you ever made a loan to him of your car or anything else that you value.
Never, Ann.
What?
Never.
Right.
You know it.
Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Thank you.
I'll be back to you right.
Thank you.
And now the next case.
Parties on Travis versus Hood. Step forward, please.
Avid bingo player, 57-year-old Fanny Travis, is suing her son's girlfriend, Betty Hood, claiming they made a deal to split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any agreement.
Miss Travis, you are an avid bingo player.
Yes, I am.
And the defendant used to be your friend.
My son's girlfriend.
According to your complaint, you were playing bingo one night back in August.
Yeah.
And you played together, you and the defendant, and your daughter.
My daughter.
And a couple of other people.
Not the one, not her. She's not here.
Another daughter.
Another daughter.
And then there was advertised a super bingo party for September.
Yes.
And you had to buy packs of $50 worth of bingo cards.
That's right.
So you say you bought packs of cards for several people, including the defendant.
That's right.
And it was your agreement with her that what?
If anybody won, I would get half of the winning.
And then she won.
She won.
$10,000.
Right.
Bingo. She gave you $1,000.
Right.
And said, I'm not giving you any more.
No, she never said that.
What did she say?
The people at the bingo was going to count me the $5,000. You only get $5,000 at night. The next $5,000 we had to come back that Monday. It was on a Saturday night. So they was finna give me the money because the bingo staff knew I had bought all the cards. I told them to count it to her. At the time, they counted out $1,000. She gave me the $1,000, and they gave me the slip and told me to come back Monday and pick up the rest of the money. And in the car, I gave her the slip and told her to wait. Monday, I'll go with you, and I want the rest of my money.
All right, you gave her the slip.
And told her in the car, I gave her the slip and told her I would go with her Monday and pick up the rest of my money.
Okay, so you said, I'll go with you Monday.
And pick up the rest of the money.
Okay, and what happened?
She dodged me all day Monday. I was at bingo waiting on her. She went out late Monday night. Had my grandkids tell me that Dad and Betty told us not to tell you that they gone to bingo. So she went out and picked up the money. When I got my son Monday night on the phone, he made a statement, you made a $1,000 profit off of her. I said that was not the agreement. She made a $9,000 profit off of me because we were supposed to split. So that I finally got her Tuesday night and asked her for my money. She said, I spent it. And I said, no, I want my money. You knew it wasn't all yours to spend. Then I called my son. He came up the next day, which was a Tuesday. I went and filed a claim on her. Then my son came up to the house the first time in his 33-year-old life, cursed me like a dog, saying that if I go through with it, he wasn't going to be my son no more.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're not a very nice young lady. She didn't know you a thing. Who are you to her? Nobody.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fanny Travis says she made a deal with Betty Hood that they would split a $10,000 bingo jackpot if either of them won. Betty denies they had any such arrangement and feels she was being generous by giving Fanny $1,000 of her winnings.
Before she got the bingo cards, according to you and according to your daughter, you told her that if you win, half is mine.
Yes.
Is that correct? Before she had the cards in her possession.
Correct.
Okay, Betty, let's hear your version of this.
When she won that $2,500 that night, she was giving me and her daughter $100. And she said out that 100, that 50 go for that package. I did not hear no split winning. And now she's saying for that, when I won the $10,000, that they gave her the receipt, they did not give her the receipt. I signed for that receipt that night. That's the only way that money came to me. I had the receipt in my belongings.
Well, my question is, you say that the previous months, she won some money.
Yes.
And very generously gave you $100. Only gave you $50 in cash and then bought the other packet for the other $50.
Right.
Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Did that happen?
No. I only gave her 50. She didn't even know I was buying these packs. She never knew I was buying these packs until 3 weeks later.
That's very generous of you to give them anything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to give them anything. Why did you give her $1,000?
Just being generous.
You had a conversation with the plaintiff that night, the night that you won the $10,000, correct?
Correct.
And she made it clear to you,
No,
after
she-
you won, let's
No.
not say before, after you won, that she expected half of your winnings. Is that right?
Correct.
Did you say to her that night, I'm not going to give you half the winnings?
No, I said you must be joking.
No. Let me ask you this question, Miss Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Does this sound familiar? That when you were leaving that night, and she said to you that should anybody win with cards that she bought, there would be a 50-50 split. And you said, we ain't going to win no way anyway. Does that sound familiar to you?
I say that all the time.
I asked you on that night, did that sound familiar to you?
Okay, what was the question again?
You said, we ain't going to win no way anyway.
Right.
Isn't that what you said?
Right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You're not a very nice young lady, Miss Hood. First of all, you've made trouble between this lady and her son.
No, I did not.
Oh, sure you did. Oh, sure you did. First of all, just by being there that night, by breathing that night in September, you were coming away $5,000 richer. You didn't make an investment. You didn't buy the cards. You didn't plan the evening. Nothing. She gave it to you. And she was generous to you at other times, too. She didn't know you a thing, except that you're the mother of at least one of her grandchildren. So she was being nice to you, and I assume she's a generous lady anyway. So you made trouble between her and her son. You were a pig about the money that you won. Absolutely did the wrong thing. And Miss Hood, life has a strange way of coming up and biting you in the back if you do the wrong thing. What you did over money, by destroying this little family, she had a son who she never had a harsh word with. And I assume she did other things. She ever babysit for you?
Yes.
You had to run to the doctor or something? Had to run someplace else? She took care of your son? Yes?
Yes.
You really are nasty. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff for the amount of $4,000. You already got your $1,000? $4,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the
Parties on Hayes versus Hayes. Step forward, please.
59-year-old Charlie Hayes is suing his daughter, 37-year-old Carolanda Hayes, for money she took from a bank account set up by her grandmother.
Order, all rise. Judges, number 275 on the calendar in the matter of Hayes versus Hayes. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
I must tell you both that there is nothing sadder for a judge than seeing a family torn apart by money.
I totally agree.
Mr. Hayes, this is your daughter.
That's correct.
And as I understand this complaint, your mother, who is still alive, is that correct?
That's correct.
How old is she?
94.
Where does she live?
She lives with me.
How long has she lived with you?
She's been living with me almost 6 months now.
Where did she live before that?
She lived at 137 Baker Apartment 1.
And she moved in with you, why, sir?
Because she's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Now, you have power of attorney over all your mother's property recently acquired, is that right?
That's correct.
According to your complaint, your mother, during her lifetime, set up different CDs and bank accounts for her children and her grandchildren. You're one of the grandchildren.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, your daughter went to the bank and took out a loan against the CD that was in your mother's name and trust for her.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
And she did so without your knowledge as the person with power of attorney over your mother's affairs. Why did you do that?
I went to the bank under my grandmother's consent. She told me to go get the interest that was on the CD.
When did your grandmother tell you that?
She told me, she was always telling me that, Carolanda, to help you and the kids, go get the interest on your CD, go get the interest on your CD. And I was like, no, because the interest was only $500. I was like, the $500 is not going to help me, Nana. She said, go to the bank and get your interest off your CD.
Okay.
So when I went to the bank...
When? Let her finish, sir.
When I went to the bank, the Great Western representative told me that you could take out a loan against your CD. You don't have to take out the interest. You can just go ahead and take out a loan for 90%.
90% of what was in the account?
Exactly.
And how much was in the account altogether?
Well, the original CD was for $10,000.
Okay. When you say the original CD, had it grown?
There was interest on it from Bayview Federal, where it was. It grown to... My grandmother had left the interest in there, I guess, a couple of times, and it was $10,900.
It was $10,900 when you took out this loan against it?
No, ma'am. It was only $8,000 by the time I got there to the bank.
It was $8,000. Now, how did the account read? What's your grandmother's name?
Nancy.
Nancy
Buckner.
Nancy Buckner in trust for?
No, it read Nancy Buckner, Carolanda Hayes, power of attorney Charles Hayes. Because by
Can I see the way the account is written, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were told that you could take out a loan.
Right, for 90% of the CD.
Okay. And you did?
I didn't take out 90. I only took out 50.
So you took out $4,000?
Yes.
And you had to pay back the interest?
Exactly.
Did you do that?
No, because they told me that no payment was needed to be made until June, a year later. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to make any payment throughout the year. I could pay $20, $10, or zero until the next year.
Well, Mr. Hayes, this says that this account is in your name, Nancy Edwards, and Carolanda Hayes. That's her.
That's correct.
This isn't an in trust for account.
No, ma'am.
It was in trust until I moved it. It wasn't in Great Western.
I don't care where it was. Listen to me. This has 3 names on this account.
I realize that.
That means anybody can do whatever they want with this bit of money. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you're suing her, your daughter.
That's
I'm
correct.
going to find out why in a second, Mr. Hayes.
Because he's greedy.
For $4,497, which is, I assume, $4,000 that she took out, and the other $400 for some sort of interest. Is that right?
No.
What?
It's for credit card that she took out in my mother's name in Nordstrom's that she didn't pay.
I don't have that in the...
I have it here, Your Honor.
I don't care what you have there. I don't have it in your complaint, sir.
And I didn't know about this credit card because
You don't have to address the credit card. It's not in his complaint.
Okay.
It's not in his complaint. It's not here, period.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
She took out $4,000, therefore you're suing her for $4,000. She can take out that money if she wants to.
Yeah, I understand that.
So why are you suing her?
I'm suing her because she didn't pay for it. She made no efforts to pay for it. Can I explain to you how this led up to this?
Sure.
She started off from the day that she graduated. My mother bought her a new car to graduate. From there, she went on to college. A couple of years later, she wanted to get married. She came home. My mother and I paid for her wedding. Came a little over $12,000. After her wedding, she moved on. After she moved on, a couple of years later, she wanted a divorce. She got a divorce. She moved on to Atlanta. In Atlanta, she got in a little trouble. She wanted to come home. She borrowed $3,200 to come home. She said she would pay for that.
Borrowed from whom?
From my mother. Then once she got here, she didn't have any money, so she needed a place to stay. So she borrowed another $1,600.
From whom?
From my mother.
When you say she... Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
When you say she borrowed the money, were you there when she spoke to her grandmother?
No.
No, I wasn't there, but by me being power of attorney, my mother explained this to me.
Just a second. When did your daughter take this money from your mother? How long ago?
That's been about 5 years ago.
And when were you appointed power of attorney?
1993.
So this all happened before you were appointed
Yes.
as power of attorney. So let me explain something to you, sir. I assume that you were given power of attorney over your mother's money because you say that she suffers from Alzheimer's. She can't take care of her affairs. Is that right?
Not only that, as that I'm the eldest. And
doesn't make any difference. Eldest. So she gave, with no notes, I assume,
no notes. This was
her
just
granddaughter money.
correct. That's correct.
Good. That's what grandmothers do with their grandchildren.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wants all the money. He wants to take everyone's money, and he doesn't want to see us with anything. He wants to remodel his home, buy his Harley Davidson, his boat, and everything else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes is suing his daughter, Carolanda, because she took money from a bank account set up by her grandmother. Carolanda says the account was opened for her benefit and the money was rightfully hers.
Go ahead. So tell me some more. So she got into trouble. She came back. It's another $1,600. Go ahead.
Would you tell her quit saying words to me?
I don't want you
wanna
to
hear
speak to
her.
him.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're speaking to him, I don't want you to speak to him.
I'm not speaking to him.
Good. Go.
Okay, now my mother calls me. She says, I want you to go and give Carolanda the interest off her CD. So instead of making it, just getting the interest off of it, I went and put it into Great Western. It was in Bayview Federal. I put it into Great Western. So then I called her and told her to go down, put your Social Security number on it so that you can get the interest from now on. Therefore, I will put your name on the CD. Her name wasn't on the CD.
That's a lie.
Shh. Hey.
He's not telling the truth.
Well, show me. Show me. Show me that your name was on the CD.
Oh, it was on the
Show
CD.
me. That's what I want to see. Show me.
I'm saying he's lying
Show me.
about the reason why he put my name in the CD.
Show me. Before I went to Great Western, what bank was it in?
Bayview Federal.
Show me Bayview Federal. This doesn't show me anything.
Okay.
Would you tell her also, Your Honor, do not call me a liar?
Shh. Listen. I didn't hear that she called you a liar, sir. If she called you anything, she's not supposed to speak out in court unless I speak to her.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm not speaking to her. I'm not looking at her.
Thank you. So anyway, I went in to take care of some banking business at Great Western, and the bank agents told me that There's no payments been made on this loan, and there's no interest been paid on it. And within the next 6 months, we're phasing out this type of loan because the bank isn't making any money on it. So I said, okay, I'll get in touch with my daughter. I called my daughter, and I asked her, I said, what are you going to do about this? She says, I don't have any money. I'm not going to pay it. Sue me. That's where we are today.
Okay. And your defense is that you didn't have to pay this money back according to the loan agreement by the bank for another few months,
No.
and therefore you were not in default.
Right.
There were a couple... Go ahead.
But he's lying. He did not call me and say that the CD was about to expire and that I better pay the interest on it or whatever. And I don't know what he did, but he closed everyone's CD. No one, all the grandchildren's, my aunts, everyone, every
How much
CD
money
is
does
gone.
your mother have in her estate, Mr. Hayes?
At the time that when she's speaking,
Now, how much money does your mother have in her estate?
she has $40,000.
And this time last year, how much money did your mother have?
Close to $80,000.
And the $40,000 was spent how, sir?
It was, she's speaking of the other loan, is because her brother took a loan out at the same time, this type of loan.
Against?
And then I had to close both of them because the bank was closing out that type of loan.
Does your mother get Social Security, sir?
Yes, she does.
And she gets Medicaid that takes care of her medical expenses?
That's correct.
And she owns an apartment building with 12 units, and each apartment building roughly about $500 on each building.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, sir?
I have one sister.
So I would assume that with the exception of these CDs that she had for grandchildren, how many grandchildren are there?
There was 5 of us.
That most of your mother's assets, when she passes, are going to go to you and your sister. Is that right?
No.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry.
Talking to him?
No, it goes to me. I am the trustee of the account. All of her assets goes to me.
What about your sister?
My sister gets 25% of the net gross of the building of the money after all bills are paid.
When did your mother make a will?
My mother made a will in 1993, and then she revised it in 1995.
Okay. All right. Now, let me deal with your countersuit, Ms. Hayes.
Yes, ma'am.
You are countersuing your father because you say that he has misappropriated your grandmother's money.
That's correct.
Okay. Nobody made you the monitor of your grandmother's money.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Whether someone is violating their fiduciary relationship, and your father has what we call in the trade a fiduciary relationship with his mother, is something that is going to be dealt with at some point in surrogates court or a court where they handle estates. A judge in the surrogates court will also determine whether his mother, who he has acknowledged suffers from Alzheimer's, was able to revise a will in 1995, had the mental capacity to revise a will, and I would assume that your aunt, who is his sister, as well as whatever grandchildren there are who might have been mentioned in a prior will contest that will once it's filed and make a determination as to whether or not there has been another breach of fiduciary.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You just told me that your mother, who's 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's. So stop giving me a lot of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes and his daughter Carolanda are in court fighting over money left in a bank account by Carolanda's grandmother. Charlie claims his daughter had no right to withdraw the money.
Let me turn now to this issue before me. What is that, Mr. Hayes?
This is the contract that she signed with the bank.
That's right here.
That she would return the money?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Now, if she did not return this money, all that they were going to do is withdraw it.
That's correct.
From the CD.
That's correct.
Now, according to your papers, sir, this CD was originally in your mother's name and trust for her.
That's correct.
Your name was not on it at all, as your mother had CDs for all the grandchildren.
She tried.
What you did, sir, was add your name, according to this, to each one of the CDs.
Only that one, Your Honor.
Why only this one?
Because I wanted to make sure that she paid it back, and if she went to the bank to get any money, I wanted them to notify me.
Well, but you know, what you've done here, sir, is you have added your name as a partner in this CD. Your mother really had no intention of making you a partner in this CD.
She knew about that.
Don't tell me what she knows. She knows nothing now. She's lucky
That's
for her
now.
that she knows. She knew nothing about what you did here, sir, because she had no intention of making you a third partner in this CD.
I took it to her and told her about this, Your
You
Honor.
just told me that your mother is 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's, sir. Stop giving me a lot of baloney.
No, I'm not.
One of the things that I'm saying to you is I'm distressed. I'm distressed because I don't understand why you as a parent, and your daughter has probably cost you a lot of money over the years.
Of
Or it
course.
cost your grandmother, your mother a lot of money. She's probably made some mistakes, and she has been indulged by an indulgent grandmother when she's run into financial difficulty. But what we're talking about is a father suing his daughter for money that really isn't even yours.
I don't want the money.
Well, what I'm asking you, Mr. Hayes, is why bring your daughter to court over this money, which is not... The truth of the matter is she could have taken out more. It wouldn't have been the right thing. But she could have taken out more than 50% of the money. She didn't. And I assume you have a couple of children?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a husband?
No, ma'am.
You work?
Yes.
What do you do?
Import and export.
How much do you earn?
$40,000 a year.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do. But and rent is outrageous, and 2 kids, and child care, and I'm barely
Where are the father of these 2 children? Well, that's a smile. A smile isn't an answer.
One's in Louisiana, the other one, they take care of their children, but I'm just saying that it's difficult to raise 2 kids by yourself.
Okay. Listen, there comes a point when your family's going to stop bailing you out.
I have...
Your grandmother
Your
bailed
Honor.
you out. She gave you money before?
Yes.
She gave you money for $3,000, $1,600, or whatever.
But 2 of them were gifts. I
I'm not
graduated
even
with
suggesting.
honors from school.
I'm not suggesting that the $3,000 and the $1,600 weren't gifts by a grandmother. Say, yeah, take the money. If you can pay back, fine. If you can't, fine. Sir, it was your mother's intention that this young lady have this money.
Up on her death.
That's her intention.
That's correct.
That's her intention.
That's correct. I would like for her to have it up on her death. I love my daughter. I don't want to.
Who are you?
Your Honor, I'm her mother.
What do you have to add to this?
I have to add that I've also helped her and my son.
I don't need that information. It's irrelevant whether you help them. Listen to me.
Yes, sir.
It's irrelevant that you help them. You're supposed to help them. You're her mother.
Oh, yes.
So,
and I will. Until
Good.
the day I die.
Nice. Sit down.
But that's not just it. I mean, she can contest that my father, he just abuses funds. He just goes
I'm not
through them.
interested in that. Nobody made you your grandmother's money monitor. If you believe that your father is abusing his fiduciary relationship to his mother, go to court and seek to be appointed her guardian because he's abusing it, and then a judge will hear you, and we will move on. But you cannot, madam, countersue for that.
I wouldn't bring my father to court.
So, well, you countersued, and I dismissed the countersuit because you have no basis for a countersuit unless you are the guardian of your grandmother.
What he's doing is just totally wrong.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Hayes, under the law,
Yes, Your
your
Honor.
daughter did exactly what she had a right to do by taking out this loan.
What about
Under the law, she doesn't even have to pay it back because the account is in her name. And if she chooses to, she can let the loan default, and she can let the CD be reduced by the amount of the loan. That is her right because her name is on this account. Do you understand, sir?
That's my fault.
Case dismissed.
Thank you.
Party's not excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the
Quy trình nộp hồ sơ để xin visa du học tại đất nước Đức thì bước đầu tiên, bước thứ nhất đó là chúng ta cần phải đăng ký cái lịch hẹn trên cổng thông tin tại Đại sứ quán tại Đức. Thì chúng ta cần phải truy cập vào website của Đại sứ quán Đức. Sau đó chúng ta cần phải điền đầy đủ các cái thông tin theo cái hướng dẫn. Sau khi mà chúng ta đặt thành công thì chúng ta sẽ nhận được cái thư xác nhận gửi tới email mà chúng ta đã đăng ký. Sau đó là chúng ta cần phải in cái thư mời ra. Sau đó chúng ta sẽ xuất trình tại cửa ra vào tại Đại sứ quán của Đức. Và bước thứ hai đó là chúng ta cần phải chuẩn bị các cái hồ sơ. Thì chúng ta cần phải chuẩn bị đầy đủ các cái hồ sơ, giấy tờ như đã nêu trên và dịch thuật, công chứng. Tùy từng trường hợp cụ thể mà chúng ta có thể sẽ được yêu cầu nộp thêm một vài các cái loại giấy tờ khác. Việc này sẽ được các bạn nhân viên nhận hồ sơ của Đại sứ quán gửi thông báo cho bạn bằng các cái văn bản. Và bước thứ ba đó là chúng ta sẽ nộp hồ sơ xin visa du học Đức cho Đại sứ quán Đức. Và bước thứ tư đó là chúng ta cần phải tham gia phỏng vấn xin visa du học Đức với sứ quán. Nếu như hồ sơ mà chúng ta được thông qua thì chúng ta sẽ được nhận thông báo cái lịch phỏng vấn trực tiếp với Đại sứ quán tại đất nước Đức. Cái mục đích của buổi phỏng vấn chính là Đại sứ quán muốn biết được chính xác xem cái mục tiêu học tập của chúng ta và đánh giá cái kiến thức chuyên môn và đánh giá về cái trình độ tiếng Đức ban đầu của chúng ta trước khi mà sang Đức để học tập. Và bước thứ 5 đó là cái bước kết quả của buổi phỏng vấn. Thì sau buổi phỏng vấn chúng ta sẽ chờ kết quả để xin visa, và tranh thủ cái khoảng thời gian này chúng ta sẽ nên học thêm và trau dồi cái vốn tiếng Đức của mình để chúng ta tự tin trước khi mà chúng ta sang đất nước Đức để học tập.